Sounds
I mean,
very
but
similar.
Monica and I went up there, and I was like, I told the coroner, was it the coroner, Monica, that uh, they're that they had, like, some shit going on down there. Like, I just, there's something is not right, and it's not just incompetence; it's something else.
Sounds like something nefarious to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very curious about the mother, Chessie, because she does appear like I would think. And again, I mean, she's completely innocent. Totally get that, respect
Mhm.
that. We've seen the same thing with Elaine, Natalie's mother,
Mhm.
people trying to point
Mhm.
fingers just because she has a past. But, and that's what they do. They try to discredit and they try to
Yeah.
like point fingers and
Mhm.
stuff. But like for Chessie, has she ever shared with you like any, because again, like that is to me, if it were me doing like investigative work
Mhm. Mhm.
down there, like I get the chick at the bar that maybe like we can't talk about that, but my approach is I would get her drunk and then get her to
Yeah.
open her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for Chessie, like does she have any insider knowledge that she shared with you that has been helpful in shedding more light to what's really going on out there, or is it still
I mean, I
speculative?
think I think that she's halfway in between cover up and incompetence, corruption. It's like, what did they have to lose by just giving us case file? Like, they're not doing anything with it. So it's like, are
You
they?
know, no, you know what it is.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with like when we did the search down there. The cops were that real estate guy. He was telling us, he was like, "Oh, they've searched this place 10 times, 10 times, 10 times." He
Yeah.
kept going on and on about it. And then when the cops finally like talked to me, they give me the. I mean, they're putting me through the ringer, asking me like, why would we want to search this particular place? And then they come back, like a week later, and they call me and they're like, yeah, well, we admit we never searched this place. So there's incompetence that's happening. And I think that leads to also kind of covering up what they did, which is why they did a scratch instead of a dig.
Yeah.
So
And
Amy, do you think,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Amy, like, do you think that, I mean, I get the incompetence angle because then it's going to reflect back on your own department, which you don't want that bad PR. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, like, do you think there's an element, Amy, of corruption?
You know what? I was kind of trying to not go there initially because, like, they seemed very adamant about how they were going to go out there and they were going to, do this and do that. Now, the two that went out there were part of the original investigation because I kind of offended the guy when I said he said something about Donnie Holland, and I go, allegedly. And he was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Yeah.
I was a first responder. I saw it. I know what it was. And I was like, okay, but that doesn't mean I believe that,
No. Right.
Um, but they, and I thought everything was going to be okay until I saw the level that they went to in digging. And that was something that I was just disgusted with because they only went down a couple of inches.
And I think
Why
Amy,
would you do that?
yeah, I think Amy too is like, she's trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, be kind, be nice, be professional, and they screwed us. They screwed us. They screwed us every which way but loose.
Well,
And there could be chicken bones out there, but that is not all that's out there.
and the
No,
thing
they
about it
didn't dig
is,
down far enough.
Yeah.
the thing that I always preach about, with Natalie's case is that if you are a public servant of sorts, you have a badge and you took an oath to protect and serve, you shouldn't be trying to get in our way. in any
Right.
capacity.
Yes, ma'am.
You
Preach.
should be trying to help because
Mhm.
ultimately, like, you're a good person, right? Like, you're a good law enforcement agent that
Mhm.
or detective or what have you. Like, you and I get it, like resources, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to like digging a little bit, digging a few more feet in the ground, like what's stopping you from doing that and why? Let's pause there and explore that. That's the real question. And that to me signals something nefarious. That's just
And
my
then they also told Amy, "Why didn't you call us? We have dogs." Okay, then what are you doing then? What if you're not going to do it? Look into this case. Just give it to me. Let me do it. I mean, that's it. Just give it to me because I guarantee you the truth is in that case file. The truth of where she is, and they have to know where she is. And she can't be that many places because to
Right.
me, if you I mean, if you've just accidentally, because I do believe it was an accident on some level. I'm not, for whatever reason, Donnie did love Brittany in some weird, weird, they had a good relationship in some weird way. And anybody that knows anything about that type of relationship, you understand it. It's it's toxic and unhealthy, but that's just, the norm for them. Um and you're panicking because you just really murdered this girl that you care about. um you're going to run to people that can help you, right? So he drives to Magnolia Springs. When Chessie went over to back to Six River a couple days later, there were two shovels laying up against the house. Okay, who used the other shovel? Who used the second shovel? Wendy Holland, guaranteed.
Well, that also goes back to there was a lady. So I talked to the grandmother of Peyton, and she was telling me about this woman who, talked about seeing two women digging. And I was like, I know who those two could be.
Hmm. And there are eyewitnesses saying that Dustin was digging in his yard the night of the murder. Two witnesses saying they saw him digging. One of them went to go let the dog out, and the other one, I guess, was just up, and they saw him digging in the yard. And Chessie and I went over to that yard as well, illegally, jumped the fence, and did what we could, but we need help. We need a metal detector for that yard. But Dee
Remember,
Dee
I've got
McCarran,
Stephen Crabtree.
yes, but Dee Dee McCarran's gonna have to agree to that.
so what is like I think the most frustrating the like my I get so frustrated because it's like looking at this case now and then seeing my case or our case and then all the other cases and where it's like it's not the it's like Brittney, I did look on YouTube and like she's had true crime people that have gone after that have tried to shed more awareness. Like, what is it going to take? Like, she's made the news, she's made headlines. Like, I just feel like the commonality in all these cases is people are just waiting for people to stop caring. They're waiting for people,
That's what I think.
and like that has to change. That has to change.
Mm-hmm. And the thing, they could easily help us. I mean, Amy and I took our time out of our day. We did all that. We're not asking for them to pay for anything. Just give me the freaking file. Like, it's a cold case at this point. It'll be 13 years on May 30th. Just give me the damn file. Because we know that Wendy is in prison for 300 years. She got 300 years. She has the longest prison sentence for the history of Alabama for a woman because she inserted objects into her own children and videotaped it. So she ain't never getting out of jail. Although Andrew was gonna try to move down there and be her girlfriend. he's trying to he's trying to make her think he's on her side so that she'll say something. But Mindy's
I
not
had
getting
no
out of
idea.
jail. Dustin is dead. Donnie is dead. So we know that no one's going to pay for this. All Chessie wants is her daughter back. That's it. Done. Just let us dig her up, let us have a funeral, and we can all move on with our lives. It's that simple. God, it pisses me off so bad.
What would you really like? I mean, just, I know we're going to try to cap this at an hour. I have to jump at an hour, but like, what can people do? Because clearly, like, people ask us in Natalie's community all the time, and I just tell them to share her hashtag, share her story, like share anything and everything that you can find on social media, because it keeps people focused on her. Mm-hmm. This isn't like a, Gabby Petito got her foundation. Again, I'm not trying to sound like hitting victims against victims, because that's not what it's about. But like, some of them have silver linings. And I mean, look at, some of them that have their own Netflix series like Gabby Petito. I mean, it's still not a win-win situation. What would you tell people to, I mean, is it the same, like to share her story, Brittney's story? Or
I would say share her story, get familiar with her story. And also hers is kind of a warning as well. And I'm not saying that everybody's family is, into this, but, you can be blindsided and have no idea what's going on. So make sure you understand and know the people around you.
I'm just really curious about what's really going on out there now in Mobile.
It's very bad.
I told you, like, I took a trip out there into Pensacola because I knew that Natalie was going there. Pink Pony out there. Drop that in.
Yeah.
Dixie Mafia and all that mess. But like, we are in, I mean, 2025 has been nothing but exposure. It's people trying to block exposure, people trying to block whistleblowers. And I feel like and I know that Jen, you wanted to touch on this before we wrap, but I feel like we're in, and again, like I don't get political, I don't get religious, because it just pits people against each other and we all bleed the same blood. But what I will say is this is nefarious men. And if I have to get on my soapbox and, play the Spice Girls role, as I mentioned last night during a live that we did, I will, and I will own it, because a lot of this predatory behavior, this sex ring type stuff, trafficking, it starts and stops with men. And if I could just make this one statement real quick, it's something that I mentioned last night that I think is super important for any man that's listening to this. This is not targeting you. And so this isn't for you to get triggered. I'm not talking to the good men who were raised and respect their mothers. I'm not talking to the good men who have sisters that they love and respect and would never want to be involved in anything like this. I'm not talking to the men who have daughters who could be Brittney or Natalie or Heather Turner or anyone else. Like, I'm not talking to you, because right is right and wrong is wrong. Who I'm talking to are the men who are using their little hard-ons to make power plays and fulfill their deviant sides of getting off or whatever. And it's costing people their lives. And these are people that I just have a problem with people playing God. And I don't care if you're religious, if you're not religious, like, that is not for you to decide. You do not get to assert that power over another human being. And whether it's karma, whether it's God, whether it's whoever, what goes around comes around. It will come around. And anyone that knows about this kind of stuff that is not speaking up and out, you need to do better. You need to be a better human. I just feel like we're in this like Black Mirror episode of the fight of like light and dark. I mean, there's some dark people doing nefarious things out there that just are destroying humans. And I don't care if they're like Brittney and a little short and spunky. I'm sorry, I get really heated about that.
They're destroying communities, girl. They're destroying entire families. Like, it's this corruption and this power hungry bullshit. It's so 1980s. It's so 1980s. The problem is that we don't speak out enough.
Well, and it's
There's
like something
victims
that
hiding. Go
it's
ahead.
like something that you don't talk like, oh, but we don't
Yeah,
talk about that. No, we do talk about it.
that's right. That's
We do
right.
talk about it. I'm sorry.
I was just telling right before this, I was telling some of my mom's friends about it, and like, oh, I can't talk about that. I'm like, right, but who's going to? And that's the thing. It's like no one wants to hear about the crimes that happened in Brittany's case because it's so awful and taboo. And Amy and Amy can attest to this. We have read some of this testimony, and it is horrific. But it's for the sake of her. Like, if she can go through this, then I can certainly listen to it and try to help somehow.
Jen, do you want to quickly talk about we just learned about
the legislation? So right before this as well, my sister called me and said that they are pushing legislation in Georgia that a hotel is not liable for the trafficking itself if, let's say, a trafficker comes in there and says, I'm going to traffic tonight in room 219 at 7 o'clock. But then they actually traffic in room 220 at 8 o'clock. The hotel is not liable for that.
bullshit.
What?
That is what Governor Kemp is doing. Governor Kemp, the most humongous piece of shit that is in the state. Sorry. Because if you listen to anything that we talk about in Natalie's case, I'm not going to get myself sued, but we all know.
Natalie, Vince Lee. I mean, Governor Kemp comes out on a very questionable road to quail hunt. He also showed up. Now, this is per Olivia's Aunt Tammy, that his wife is over the Anti-Human Trafficking Grace Foundation, that they showed up shortly after Olivia, went missing and started making headlines and stuff. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. And again, this is just my personal opinion here. Like, he looks like a washed up frat boy, but my personal opinion here is I don't talk the talk, like walk the walk,
Yeah.
bro, and I don't want to think that any of them are involved in it, but at the same time, it's like across all boards, both political sides, you've got doctors, teachers, counselors, whispering pines, smokes, or all this stuff. Like, we know that this stuff happens, and we know who is doing it, and we know why you're doing it.
And let me say this too, and this is for my best friend, my sister, my neighbor, my coworker. If you, even though you're not involved and you know something, you're a piece of shit too. And you not helping a situation and letting it happen makes you just as bad as the predator. So,
well, and I see Stacy here. Stacy, your sister, said, the most important thing is to call, or is to email and contact your House of Representative member if you are in Georgia, and ask for a vote against SB 68, which is super important, because what I preach, Stacy, 100%, I'm echoing that 100%. But the thing about it is, Jen, is that, and I think we can all agree about this, is that we have to stop. We as a society, we as communities in these states, and specifically right now, we're talking about Georgia and Kemp, but if we don't agree with something, we have to stop being on here on these lives and agreeing, and maybe sharing a quote or sharing a post. like, again, you can't sit there and say that like you're in support of this and do nothing about it. Like you have to be part of the solution because otherwise they win. And you know, we can't allow that. Like this is detrimental. This legislation is detrimental to human trafficking victims
and to what we're doing, to what we are doing here. It goes against everything that we believe in and everything we stand for.
and it's just a bunch of hypocrites. And I would ask everyone that listens to this, what are you really afraid of? Are you really afraid of calling your house, you know, your House of Representative member and asking for a vote against SB 68? Like, why are you, you know, it's not that you're anti-American or anti-patriotic. It has zero to do with that. What it has to do with is doing the right thing for other people. Because if it were you, if it were your daughter, if it were your sister or anyone else, and if they got swirled up into some kind of mess like that, you can't even imagine. So like you have to kind of think forward is what I would call it. And we have to act. Like this isn't like some Superman feat of you know, saying like, let's go out and stand the lines and whatever else. But no, this is holding people accountable, saying like, what are you doing? And this legislation, from what I've read, much to your point, Jen, is they are trying to sneak, or not even sneakingly, I guess you would say, they're flat out putting it out there of saying like, yeah, you know, this is going to be another slap on the face and probably another unalive body, many more of them.
Absolutely.
For this. And we are enabling people to continue to do this, if not do it more. And that's extremely troubling, especially in the South, considering the values that everyone air quote has. Like it's so troubling. Like it's heartbreaking, really.
Tasha said a lot of these families feel alone. We don't have the support like you may think. And we definitely know that. We definitely understand that. I think Andrew, Amy, and Jen and myself understand that.
Yeah. Well, it's part of Tasha, it's part of the ploy, in my opinion, which is that when you think about a business, and just think of it like you're starting a business, right? Like you want to have your C-suite of executives that are all skilled in various things and can help you scale your business, right? And if what you're trying to do is something nefarious, then what is the smart move to do is to use your C-suite, all of your executives that you've hired in, to start doing like stuff out of a playbook. And this is what I preach to people, is that once you understand their playbook, it's quite transparent. It's not that complicated to see. There's paper trails. There's, you know, people out at the lakes having pineapple people parties and all kind of stuff. Like it's very like in your face. There's smoke screen youth camps, and I have a whole other thing about the
and not to mention foster homes, DFACs,
rehabs.
Yes. And what they do is they prey on what they believe to be the weakest.
Well, because they're cash,
money or power or whatever. Yeah, I mean they prey on people that are in vulnerable situations and vulnerable times in their life and take advantage of it. It's disgusting.
Well, they're the lesser than people. They're the less desirables, and it's easy to write them off. It's easy to write their stories off. It's easy to make them disappear, and nobody will care because it's not Megan over here who's in a sorority, you know.
Right. Or
like through more dick than half of these girls are in all reality.
Right.
And I said what I said.
Right. And you know, in Brittney's case, you know, she was a victim her entire life and died helping, you know, protecting her cousins and her brothers. So it's sickening. And really, Natalie did too.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was going to use her story to help other people. And, Brittney was a really big true crime buff. And her favorite case was Natalie Holloway,
Oh,
who
wow.
was an Alabama teenager, 18-year-old Alabama teenager. So Chesney and I have always, and they went missing on the same day. 7 years apart, but same May 30th. And it's almost wild to think she became the story in Alabama. It's crazy. Stacey's putting up the Legisgov to find your legislature
Yes.
later.
I'm your legislator.
Yeah.
This has got to stop. I mean,
I know.
It's heavy and it's a lot to take in, but like, I feel I'm very optimistic in that I believe that there's a lot more good people than there are bad people, but the bad people are just so interconnected at doing nefarious things that they hold on to that web very strongly. And they're easily swayed because they're money hungry, they're sexual, they're what they get. And it's going to take all of us, walking the walk. But
well, I've always said, that when I'm dead and gone, my niece and nephew are going to have Brittney's case, and then their kids are going to have Brittney's case, because I will never let this go. I will stay on this after I'm dead.
You're amazing.
So I'm not, and they don't scare me. So
well, that's the thing I think about all of us. They know that we're not scared of them, and that their intimidation tactics are not going to work, whether you're a predator, whether you're someone corrupt or whatever else. I mean, like, we hold more power than they do. And if they try to do something to us, then that's going to be even clearer evidence.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That you're right. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I could literally talk about this all night. I think we should do this again because there's still so much.
Yeah.
But we could do this again. When are you going to Hawaii?
Who's going to Hawaii?
Stacy.
Stacy, jealous.
Her boyfriend's mom lives there.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah.
I wish.
All right, Amy, Andrew, anything in parting?
No. Don't tell me it's a human bone when it could be chicken bones.
No, I've just enjoyed listening, and I'm not too familiar with this case, and I think we should do something sometime with. Huh?
Did you learn anything?
Yeah, about the twins, I didn't really know, like, to the extent that much of what they've done, but I mean, I know that they were like weirdos, but
it's gross.
Yeah, yeah, it is really gross. It makes me like think about them differently now. I don't really judge people, but that's something that's kind of hard to look past,
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
I'm gonna be
and I don't think they'll ever give anything up, because as far Andrew, don't they say that they were not involved? Everybody's lying.
They said that the daughter lied, and like I think the dad or somebody coached her to lie on her and the sister,
her daughter.
Yeah, the sister.
Yeah. So we're gonna have the twins on live at some point.
And I will say this too.
That's gonna be pre-recorded as long as I can get a pre-recorded interview first.
Okay. All right.
I was gonna say I'll end with this too. Who's Cece?
Oh yeah. All right. Amy,
we'll discuss Cece on another one.
I was gonna say, you want to go to TikTok and talk about there?
We can.
All right. Bye, Jen. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Amy. Bye.
All right, see you
Bye,
guys
Andrew. Bye, y'all.
later.
Bye.